This is the time and date for the sentencing in the matter of Peoples versus Ricky Mathis. Mr. Mathis is here, also present, and his lawyer Casey Strong. Prosecuting attorney Deborah Davis is here, and Matt Huff is here from the probation department. Matt and I have had a number of discussions about this case. Mr. Mathis had 2 drinking driving instances in a short period of time. This incident occurred in March of 2025. Defendant entered a plea of no contest to operating while impaired, I believe is the way this went. And the matter was referred to sobriety court. Matt has spent a lot of time on this. I think Strong has as well. Anyway, troubling set of facts, troubling circumstance, and some logistical issues which could be roadblocks. Ms. Strong, what would you like me to know?
Thank you, Your Honor. In review of the report provided by Mr. Huff, I would like to thank Mr. Huff and the sobriety court team for all the work that they have put into this, and recognize that Mr. Mathis did complete the evaluation with Spencer yesterday. They had a 3-hour meeting, and it's my understanding that Spencer was going to contact someone with the court to have a discussion regarding that. If the court has received that communication, is prepared to move forward today, we can do that. Otherwise, if we are still waiting on that report from Spencer for possibly qualifying Mr. Mathis for sobriety court, I would ask for an adjournment. Mr. Mathis is 23 years old, and the court has looked at the set of facts and has noted that there are some things that they're concerned about, which makes Mr. Mathis a candidate for sobriety court. And my knowledge of sobriety court, it's a wonderful program that will allow Mr. Mathis to rise to the occasion, participate in the program, and get back on track. We all know, and we can all relate to the fact of not having a driver's license and the impact that can have on employment, schooling, the rest of his life until that gets resolved. And not only the driver's license participation issue, but also just having some kind of a support system to get plugged into young to address this and resolve this issue before he goes forth into the world. Mr. Mathis retained me on this case. He has been early, he has been communicative, he has been present for every court hearing and every communication. I think that he would take this sobriety court participation very seriously, and I would ask the court to consider him for that.
Debbie, before I hear from you, let me tell you what my concerns are. One, I'm not sure Mr. Mathis is mature enough to do this. We don't have the greatest track record with very young people, although we just had a very successful young man graduate at 24, and he started the program at 23. In fact, it's from the Mendon area, like Mr. Mathis is. He did an outstanding job, and I told him he might have made the road easier for the next people. But this case is full of immature, impulsive behavior. The other issue is the logistics of doing this. If he's going to be working second shift at International Paper, that he won't be able to participate without considerable grace from his employer. So one option I discussed with Matt is starting him on a regular sentence with a probation, and I can always amend it and transfer it to sobriety court. But I don't think we've worked out the logistics from his job. As I understand it, what are your hours at work?
I usually work 3 to 11, sometimes 3 to 3.
And would you elaborate on what you told me in the conference room?
So I talked to my supervisor, and she said as long as somebody, which I already talked to them and they agreed, the shift before will stay after, so I could do my Zoom calls.
We've had people from International Paper. We had one guy, and they were working 12-hour days. He was in our program, and the company worked with him. And we've had another one, at least one more, but that guy sticks out because he was working so many hours, and he did manage to participate in the program. At some point, the wheels fell off. after he graduated, but he did, I think, complete the program. Ms. Strong mentions if you get convicted of this, your license is going to be revoked, meaning it'll be 5 years before you're eligible to get a driver's license back. One of my concerns is that she's been more interested in getting you into sobriety court than maybe you have been. Although you've been here each time, you've been polite, you've been respectful, you dress respectfully as though you take this seriously. We understand the session you had with Spencer Price yesterday was 3 hours long, which was a good sign that you were willing to engage and a lot of information was exchanged. And her goal, and I guess maybe ours, would be to change your behavior before you screw up the rest of your life, or worse, shorten your life with a tree one night. Having said all that, Ms. Davis, what's your position here?
Your Honor, Mr. Mathis's history is concerning. He's had alcohol-related and substance-related issues since his juvenile days. I guess what is bothersome as well is that Mr. Mathis is aware that on August 26th of 2023, he was drunk at the Vikings clubhouse doing burnouts in the driveway, took off, hit a neighbor's yard decorations, took off again, crashed into some irrigation equipment outside of Three Rivers, admitted to marijuana use, that somebody had laced his marijuana at the clubhouse. Unfortunately, that case didn't get reported to his then probation agent because he was on probation at the time. It was sent for further investigation because of it being impaired with substances. And unfortunately, it wasn't followed up on until 2 days after he was released from his probation. So 2 days after being released, a new complaint came out of the office in March of 2024 for the incident that had occurred in August of 23. It frustrates me that he knew that he had been taken into custody or, that this was potentially pending, and yet he didn't say a word to his probation agent for, let's see, August through December, and then December through March, when he was successfully released a year early on his probation. Fast forward, so that case, then he's upset because, well, how am I having a warrant if I just got successfully dismissed? He's calling the court, according to the ROA. Well,
as it turns out,
it got dismissed.
that case in the middle just disappeared.
Right. And so I had to dig out the facts on that one. And it turns out that last year in October, it had to be dismissed because there had not been the follow-up regarding the substances that he had used. That being said, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. He didn't get a conviction for it, but there were certainly a lot of concerning facts. And the fact that he didn't bring this police contact up to his probation agent during that first probation is very frustrating. And to add on to that, apparently the Secretary of State had still shown that second one on his record because he called the court complaining about his insurance.
Yeah,
costs.
this was screwy because they abstracted the case that he got dismissed and didn't abstract the case that he was convicted of.
And I wasn't certain on that. I mean, there are times where Secretary of State will, they'll get the abstract when the warrant is issued or the ticket is issued. And then if we don't end up charging, we end up sending a letter to them saying we ended up not charging for whatever reason. But that was on February 21st of 25. He calls the court complaining. And then on 3/1 of 25, so about a week later, we have this charge where he's out at a local bar drinking with his father. Dad takes him home, but then he, for some reason, decides to get in his car and do burnouts in the driveway.
To piss off his neighbors.
Yeah, and start his own car on fire.
Yes.
So I also noted from the dispatch notes that whoever called this in said he usually races up and down the road, which is concerning. If this is a person who wants to have a license in St. Joseph County with the significant history that he's got, I have concerns. And he was also in the household where Mercedes Wyrick OD'd while awaiting the case
Governor,
against
how
Judge
is that
Middleton.
relevant?
Because there are substance abuse issues in the family and him. And if he wants to have a license in St. Joseph County and drive around on these roads where we all travel, then I think we have a duty to make sure that he understands how serious we are about the use of substances when he's driving.
Well, when we were aware of all that, and Matt and I have been struggling with it, and you weren't in charge in 2023 and 2024. And this happened more than a couple of times where somebody would get arrested, they'd get released, that never got followed up on, and essentially that one was a freebie. And we were aware of the conduct. Then this one, yeah, he's out drinking with his dad. So apparently his father's not real worried about his circumstance. Takes him home, and then his parents are in the house, apparently asleep, when he's out burning up and down the road and sets his car on fire. Police put it out with a fire extinguisher, and he was very, very intoxicated. And his reason for doing it was because he wanted to piss off the neighbors. So when I said we're talking about immature conduct, that's what we're talking about, which makes me question whether he's mature enough to do this. So I guess the question is, do we just give him a jail sentence and wait till the next time? Or do we try to intervene with supervision to try to change the course? I agree with you, Ms. Davis. This is very serious stuff, and Matt has been struggling with it. We've yet to receive the report from Spencer Price, who I trust his judgment. He's an original continuing member of our sobriety court team. So one option is to just do a sentence. Either give him a bunch of jail time, make him lose his job, put him on a traditional probation, or try sobriety court with the supervision. The plea was no contest to impaired, so the court is limited to 93 days. And there's a carrot. The carrot is a reduction of jail sentence and a potential license. So I understand your position on this and probably frustration. He did call the court during that time asking about the warrant. I don't know what the deal was between him and his probation officer. I guess he just assumed we knew about it. According to the notes from the clerk, defendant called October 7th. He just found out he had the warrant. He didn't understand how he got a successful discharge in his other case if he had this warrant. I told him we got the new complaint 2 days after his discharge from probation. So he then came in 2 days later, once he found out about the warrant, and presented himself. And Ms. Strong got involved. So then the case gets dismissed, and then there was an issue about which was which. So he turns himself in. The warrant issues, and again, you were gone at this point. Warrant issues October of 2024. Defendant calls, turns himself in, gets arraigned, and 7 days later, whoever authorized it dismissed it, and then it never got rebrought. So are you outright opposed to the idea of sobriety court? Or are you willing to take a chance, and if he violates, we've still got 93 days left to work with?
No, I'm not opposed to sobriety court, but I also have concerns that he's not going to take it seriously, and I don't want it to affect the other participants that are in there or set some sort of precedent that, oh, you can just try it, and if it doesn't work out, oh well.
And we've done that before under the theory that the worst we can do is fail. The other guy that worked at American or International Paper had 9 OUIL convictions. We tried it. He was a felon. And he completed the program. It didn't work out in the long run.
And I guess I would ask if the court consider doing some weekends of incarceration to maybe drive home the point.
I think that's part of
serious.
Mr. Huff's recommendation,
Thank you.
but yeah. Mr. Huff, what's your thought?
Well, Your Honor, I think that both the defense and the prosecution bring some good points to light about Mr. Mathis's case. And I think that, most recently, Ms. Davis spoke about the severity of the charges, which can't be ignored. I mean, that is important, and I'm happy that the state, the people are represented in that fashion. That being said, the research is very clear in regards to reoffending drunk drivers. And that is that with an ignition interlock device installed in their vehicle, they are much, much, much less likely to recidivate, especially in the short term, in the first few years after entering that conviction. And if we consider the alternatives to a sobriety court, we have a traditional probation, which we obviously have seen didn't work last time, and we have incarceration. Incarceration is going to cause Mr. Mathis to lose his job, probably go back down the hill if he's trying to fight uphill as it is now with his substance use disorder, in particular with alcohol. Then taking a setback in another aspect of his life, no license, no job, probably not going to help that substance use disorder get addressed. So I do believe that it's appropriate that if Mr. Mathis's work is willing to work with him in regards to the requirements of sobriety court, that he enter into sobriety court. However, kind of to piggyback off what Ms. Davis said, in regards to if he decides to not take sobriety court serious, I think that we should just immediately and establish at this point in time at this hearing that the alternative is substantial jail and no probation. If he doesn't take this chance as his lifeline, and that the court uses the analogy of throwing a lifeline out to somebody lost at sea and bringing them onto the boat. If he doesn't take advantage of that, then at that point in time, we just have to keep going to save the next person. And he's just going to get lost out there. And that's not the fault of the court. That's the fault of Mr. Mathis for placing himself in the position that he is in today. That being said, I don't see any reason not to accept him into sobriety court to at least try it.
All right, Mr. Mathis, you've heard what everybody else had to say about this. Probably hard some of it to listen to. What would you like me to know?
I think sobriety court would be good for me. I know I have a problem that needs to be fixed, and I think it would be a good way for me to not mess up the rest of my life and lose my license forever.
Or your life forever?
Yeah.
Yes, if I just give you 60 days in jail, which Matt and I have discussed, you'll lose your job, you'll get out of jail, and you won't be under any supervision. And you'll be drinking shots of Fireball and hanging out with your friends, and it's only a matter of time till the next one comes, because the first one didn't scare you. The second one, where you about killed yourself, didn't scare you. And then apparently didn't scare your father much either, because he's out drinking with you to the extent that you were a 2-4 and don't have any memory of what happened. Plus, you were out there trying to purposely irritate your neighbors at 2 o'clock in the morning while your parents were home. I irritated them too. Almost burned your car up. You tried to put it out with a cup of water, which wasn't very effective. And the sheriff came out with a fire extinguisher and put it out. What was actually on fire was your tires because of these burnouts you were doing in the street. Let's try it. The young man I'm referring to, I won't say his name, but he greatly impressed me. Sent me a nice email after his graduation. He's got an excellent sponsor who was a guy who was you once. In fact, everybody in sobriety court was probably you once. They were 23. They knew all the answers, but they didn't understand the questions. And it was fun. Going out drinking and going to Cowboy Up where the girls are and the people are hanging out and there's music. It's fun till it isn't fun anymore. And then it's a lifetime of sadness. So you have the alcoholism gene. You got dealt a crappy hand. not everybody that has the alcoholism gene is an alcoholic. And you're supposed to use that. Not everybody that has a substance abuse disorder has the gene. But when you have the gene and you at 23 developed a great tolerance, it doesn't just cure itself, it just gets worse. And we've seen lots of people that started out with great promise that turned out squander it. On order 93 days jail. There's 1 day credit.
1 day credit.
Credit one, leaving 92 days to serve. Of the 92 days ordered, 88 are deferred. We got some weekends to do, scheduled by the probation department. This is expensive, but nobody has more disposable income, according to advertisers and demographic people, than young people that have a full-time job and live with their parents. You can afford to be in this program. There's a $75 crime victims' rights fee, a $50 state minimum fee. I'm gonna cut the screening fee in half because you've had your screening with Mr. Price. The attorney fee is $0. You took it seriously enough to hire your own attorney. $960 probation oversight fee. Matt, I didn't see it in here. Was there a police reimbursement? There was a voluntary blood draw.
I didn't see it explicitly in the police reports themselves, but maybe Ms. Davis can provide clarity in that regard.
I will look, that it's St. Joseph County Sheriff's Department always sends theirs in, so let me,
Sometimes it's contained in the report, sometimes it's a separate report.
Separate.
And I
yeah.
looked through both, I didn't see.
I don't think they considered it an accident, and it was a voluntary.
There was a
blood draw,
voluntary
so
blood
I think
draw,
it's
which I think is $200.
Yeah, 200 even.
And we're gonna try sobriety court. We've got an interesting mix of people in there. We just graduated 2 very successful candidates after about 14 months. Both did an outstanding job. We're about to graduate another one when we reconvene next Tuesday, the 17th, and you'll be there. This is a probationary sentence and I can amend it. If you're not able to do the sobriety court probation, I can alter the jail days. It's either more weekends or just more days, but I'm hopeful that you can do it. We have worked with International Paper in the past. So everything that goes with sobriety court, no drugs and no alcohol. Now, no drugs includes no marijuana. At one point you had a medical marijuana card and I'm not sure what the reason for that was. I won't get into it here. Now you're over 21, so you can smoke marijuana legally as an adult. You're not supposed to drive, but it's certainly very common. You're going drug and alcohol free as a part of this probation. We want to get your brain cleared of controlled substances. Are you on any medication for ADHD or anything?
No, I stopped taking that because I didn't like how it made me feel.
Were you on Ritalin or that sort of
It
thing?
was Concerta, or no, Vyvanse.
All right, well, if you take medication that's prescribed, you're allowed to take it, but you can't use marijuana either. If we gave you a test today, would you be positive for marijuana?
Yeah.
All right, so you've been waiting for the hammer to drop before you started doing the stuff you weren't supposed to be doing. So the hammer just dropped. So we're gonna get a test and see where your levels are. And then they have to go down to 0. And if it doesn't work, I can just give the balance of 93 days and hope it doesn't happen again soon. No drugs and no alcohol. I didn't add those numbers up. 125 plus 50 plus 960 plus 200 is 1335. The sobriety court program entails several things. It includes starting support group, AA or NA, preferably AA. There are some other programs like Celebrate Recovery and some faith-based recovery programs. You're going to need to be in one of those. Again, you've been waiting for the shoe to drop to get into an AA program. You're going to need to. Most of the people in AA are older. Although we've had a couple of young people, we had a young woman also that was in her early 20s, also smoked marijuana, and she's doing great, last I heard. People in the group live near where you live, may be able to help you get back and forth to some support groups. You can lose your driver's license for a period of time until you're eligible to get it reinstated. It would be reinstated after at least 45 days with the installation of an interlock device on your car. And Mr. Huff pointed out interlock is good for a couple of reasons. You can't drive your car without it. And it's a way for us to tell every day that you haven't been drinking, because your car won't start. And if you test positive on your interlock device, we get knowledge of it. So it's an extra tool for us to see, but it gets you the ability to drive back and forth to work, treatment, school, other limited purposes. Almost everybody in our program has their interlock. Be drug and alcohol testing as directed. As we often say, all we can do here is fail. Now, you understand how the prosecutor feels about this. So if there's probation violation issues or that sort of thing, they're going to be coming from that same place. Now, the goal when we get you in sobriety court isn't to beat you up. The goal is to lift you up. So there's not a bunch of negative. It's all mostly positive. You get hooked in with a bunch of people who are in recovery, but this is a big pill for you to swallow. And I hope you can do it. I will be impressed if you do. If you can't, you won't be impressed, because you're going to do a large block of jail time and you'll have to get a new job unless International Paper holds this one for you. That job pays pretty well. They're paying in the 20s. There's lots of overtime opportunity. It's hard work, and they can't find any young people who want to work there. They've almost always got job openings because they can't find anybody that wants to work steady factory work. How long have you been there?
Next month I'll be there for a year.
All right, well, that's something. What are you making an hour?
Right now I'm at 26.85.
And you're getting shift preferential, and are you getting overtime?
Yeah, I get overtime a lot, especially now because the guy on third shift, he's the only trucker on third now, so I stay over till 3 to help him.
You should be too tired to go out and do this. All right. You take this down. I want you to meet with Mr. Huff. And I will gladly shake your hand and have my picture taken of you a year or more from now. If you can complete this program, I'll consider it a success for all of us.
Thank you, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.